Bret Hart, we'll meet you right here next week for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. And Bully, I don't just want you to beat him, I want you to hurt him.
Hitman, I'm gonna hit you hard and fast. Your excellence of execution will mean nothing. And after I take you out, I'll be the Intercontinental Champion. I want everybody to know, from Sid Justice down to the Brooklyn Brawler. It's all over for you people. I will come get you.
In the colorful and often bizarre world of professional wrestling, countless characters have come and gone, some achieving legendary status while others faded quickly into obscurity. Big Bully Busick may not be a name that wrestling fans immediately recognize, but for a brief moment in 1991, he embodied one of the WWF's most unusual gimmicks. The notion of the bully is universal, a villain everyone recognizes and despises. But Busick took that simple idea and turned it into a living caricature, complete with a curled mustache and an unlit cigar perpetually clenched between his teeth. As a living cartoon of an old-fashioned street bully, Busick stood out even among the outlandish characters of his era, and then disappeared almost as quickly as he arrived. Before he disappeared into wrestling obscurity, Big Bully Busick showed the world exactly how much damage one mustache and a cigar could do. Before stepping into the national wrestling spotlight, Nick Busick built a life defined by athleticism and service. He was an accomplished amateur wrestler at Weir High School in West Virginia, where he developed the grappling skills that would later underpin his professional career. Throughout the 1970s, Busick also became a respected powerlifter. In 1971, he made headlines by attempting to break Jim Williams' formidable bench press record of 635 pounds, a feat that underscored his raw strength even though the lift ultimately fell short. His imposing physicality was matched by an early commitment to public service. At just 19 years old, in 1973, he joined the Weirton Police Department as an officer. Busick made his professional wrestling debut in 1977, stepping into the ring for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Over the next 2 years, he appeared regularly when the promotion ran shows in the Pittsburgh area, usually serving as an enhancement talent or jobber tasked with making more established stars look dominant. Unlike many of his peers, Busick never underwent formal wrestling training, later recalling that he simply learned in the ring, honing his skills through first-hand experience rather than through a dedicated wrestling school. In 1981, he stepped away from the WWF and, following an invitation to leave the Weirton Police Department, transferred to Atlanta. It was in Atlanta that Busick's wrestling career began to evolve in earnest. He started performing for promoter Jerry Blackwell, and it was during this period that the seeds of the Big Bully persona took root. Inspired by commentator Joe Pedicino's observations, Busick shaped a character drawn from the image of a stereotypical coal miner or steel mill worker, a burly, menacing figure straight out of America's industrial past. This persona would eventually become the defining feature of his brief but memorable stint on the national stage. As the bully persona developed, Busick refined the visual trademarks that made his character so memorable. He wore a derby hat and a turtleneck sweater, brandished an unlit cigar on his way to the ring, and sported a bushy handlebar mustache that perfectly completed the look of an old-fashioned street tough. In early 1991, Busick briefly appeared with the Global Wrestling Federation in Texas, occasionally teaming with Bad News Brown. But it was in July of that year that he returned to the national spotlight, debuting in the World Wrestling Federation with his fully formed Big Bully gimmick. Managed by the conniving Harvey Whippleman, Busick embraced the role of an unapologetic bully, harassing opponents and humiliating fans at ringside. He famously popped a child's balloon with his cigar, a small but vivid act that cemented his status as a detestable villain. Even ring announcer Mike McGurk wasn't spared, enduring repeated harassment until Sid Justice finally stepped in to chase Busick away, an encounter that ended with Busick's quick defeat. Though the WWF was already crowded with colorful characters, Busick initially found moderate success, collecting wins over enhancement talent like Coco B. Ware and Jim Powers, In one of his few actual storylines, he entered into a brief feud with the Brooklyn Brawler, who challenged Busick to prove which of them was the true bully of the WWF. Their first match ended in a count-out loss for Busick, but a rematch the following week saw Whippleman interfere by grabbing the Brawler's leg, allowing Busick to steal a controversial victory. After this short-lived program, Busick primarily served as an antagonist for rising stars and established veterans, including Bret Hart, the British Bulldog, and Kerry Von Erich. Originally, he was slated to make his pay-per-view debut at Survivor Series 1991. However, he was replaced before the event by Hercules, marking an unceremonious end to his WWF tenure. Busick quietly departed the company in November 1991, having never advanced beyond the lower mid-card. Outside the ring, Nick Busick led a life that reflected his wide-ranging interests and enduring connection to strength sports. Alongside fellow wrestler Bill Eadie, better known as Demolition Axe, Busick worked as a bodyguard in Atlanta. He also held a role as a senior investigator for criminal and civil investigations and pursued entrepreneurial ventures, founding the Big Bully Sports Nutrition Bar Company. After returning to his hometown of Weirton, West Virginia, Busick stayed involved in security work, serving as a casino security officer and acting as a personal bodyguard to Mountaineer casino and racetrack manager Ted Arnaud. Although he kept a relatively low profile in wrestling circles, rarely appearing outside occasional fan festivals, he did step back into the spotlight as a special guest referee at Def WrestleFest in April 2012. Remarkably, Busick never left behind his roots as a powerlifter, continuing to train and compete in powerlifting meets until 2015. His enduring dedication to fitness and strength reflected the same determination that first took him from a high school wrestling mat to the national stage of the WWF. Beyond his wrestling persona, Nick Busick led a life rooted in family and resilience. He was married to his wife, Lori, for 32 years, and together they raised 3 children. In 2015, Busick was diagnosed with esophageal cancer after first experiencing difficulty swallowing and then bleeding in his throat. The treatment was grueling. He underwent surgery and chemotherapy that caused his weight to drop from 265 pounds to 187, but he faced the illness with the same determination he had brought to the ring. By June 2016, Busick announced he was cancer-free. Sadly, the following year he was diagnosed with a brain tumor and required neurosurgery. On May 8, 2018, Nick Busick passed away in his hometown of Weirton, West Virginia. Though Big Bully Busick's in-ring career was short, his story captures the spirit of an era when professional wrestling was unafraid to embrace the outrageous, and when a performer with enough conviction could make even the most old-fashioned gimmick unforgettable. While his time on the national stage was brief, his persona left an indelible impression on those who remember the era, a relic of a time when even the simplest of archetypes, like the classic playground bully, could be transformed into a flesh-and-blood wrestling character. His brief run in the WWF is a reminder that in wrestling, success is never guaranteed, no matter how memorable the gimmick or how large the mustache.